hearts out. Am the most excited to talk to you.
Ew.
You, I remember I just came to an event that you had, and I don't know if you saw me. I was standing in front of your wall, and I was just looking at all your keys on all these celebrities and seeing all your mission, your whole mission statement. And I was just in your space, just crying.
Aww.
Just like, this is so dope. And I want to try to get to the bottom of, we all have these feelings of wanting to do something cool. And then why are you the only one who did it?
Oh my gosh. I'm the only one who did it.
So for anyone who doesn't know, let's start at the beginning. You have this business called Giving Keys, where I actually had someone at a meet and greet recently come and say, like, I just overcame chemo, and she took a necklace off of her that said Brave, and she's like, and now I want to give it to you.
Oh, right? Gosh. And you're
and
like, cue the tears.
And
don't cry.
So she gave it to me, and I'd heard of you, and we've been in passing, but then over the last 4 months, I've become obsessed with what you do. It makes me so happy. Aww. So can you just tell us the freaking story?
Sure.
You have this incredible. It's not a nonprofit, right?
No, at first I thought it was, and I asked my business manager, because when I used to do music, my business manager just did finances in for musicians. And when I hired the first young homeless couple, which I'll get to, I was just paying them cash all the time, based off whatever we would sell. And so finally, I told the business manager, can you help them open up a bank account, or can you make this a nonprofit? I don't know what this is, and just paying this homeless couple cash, you know? So I guess it's a nonprofit.
So people that even hear the story, you run a business that sells jewelry that is made by people that live on the street.
Yeah, so our mission statement is
cool.
Our goal is to end homelessness.
I love you.
I love you.
I can't get over how dope that is.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And the story of how it kind of came about feels super serendipitous and meant to be. And so basically the more jewelry we sell, the more jobs we can create, and the more people we can try to get off the streets. Mm-hmm. But I always like to call it a doubly do-good brand, because all the products have inspirational words on them. Yeah. So, and you're supposed to get your word that you need in your life, embrace it, but then you're supposed to pass it on, to pay it forward to someone you feel needs it more than you, and then tell them to pass it on.
So I keep buying keys. So it's a good business model.
Yeah. So that was an accidental return customer situation.
Totally.
Okay. But so, used to do music, was not doing Andy Grammer, tours, but little tours and opening for people. And that's all I did. I started doing music when I was 17 I won a contest on Kiss FM at my high school.
Oh, sick.
And so for
in LA.
Yeah. So for 5 years, I was in a girl band through Babyface. Thank God we never came out, because we were horrible.
It was what kind of music?
Pop, we tried every genre of music at some point. We worked with every producer there is. So I played the guitar, but then one girl was a Britney Spears girl, and then one girl was hip hop. And so we literally did every genre ever. Everything. But we were not. I don't think we were that good. And I'm a horrible dancer, and they tried to make us dance. And so there were certain songs where the other girls would be sexy and dancing, and I would be the whisperer. Yeah. And so I'd be I remember it was 2001, and one of my parts in the song was 20-0 to the 1. Nice. Yeah, so really, really good stuff. But anyway, so did music, whatever. And then I started a website called Love Your Flaws, about body image issues, with the actress Brie Larson, who's about to be the new Captain Marvel, which is so crazy.
Very intense.
So we did a movie together where they cut off our heads and glued our faces on other people's bodies. And we're like, oh, thanks. You couldn't even airbrush us? Nope. Off with their heads. We're just gonna put other people's bodies on their faces. So we're this is really messed up. So we should start a website to talk about this issue. And went around and took thousands of pictures of people holding up signs that said my acne is beautiful, my cellulite is hot, my chemo fried hair is beautiful, cankles are the new black.
What year is this? When is this?
This is 2007.
Okay.
So then 2008, my first album came out called Flaws, and everything at my merchandise table said Love Your Flaws, bags, keychains, everything said Love Your Flaws on it.
Cool.
And I was in New York passing through on tour, and the hotel room key, I thought it was cool, so I put it around my necklace and was always like trying to find cool things to wear, performing, and it was like a big obnoxious key. I'm like, cool. So I got compliments on it. So I was at a locksmith, and the person in front of me got numbers engraved on their key for their apartment, and I was like, do you have letters?
Wait, this is a hotel key?
Yeah.
Oh, those are expensive if you lose those, right?
Well, so I know sometimes I'm like, did I steal it? Like, I even have to ask myself that. But I think what happened was I lost the first one. It was a real actual key. It wasn't like a credit card.
Yeah.
It was like an old school, like an old hotel. But I think I had like lost it, and so I found it again in my bag or something like that.
Okay.
So anyway. But I did have to question myself. I'm like, did I steal it? I don't think I did, because I don't steal things. But anyway, but there actually was someone who was like, you started the Giving Keys based on a lie.
Okay, worth it. It's all right.
But anyway, okay, so I was like, you have numbers, you have letters? Can you engrave Love Your Flaws on this key? So that's how it all started. So Love Your Flaws was the thing that really sparked starting the Giving Keys. So he did, and I thought it looked super cool. And then I saw all these old used keys on the side, and I said, ooh, while you're at it, can you do hope, love, strength, believe, brave, let go, fearless, faith? So he did, and I was like, how much would you charge me? And he said $8. So it was $5 per $3 per key, and then $5 to do the engraving. So then I just got my cuticle clippers and tweezers, started making jewelry out of them, and started selling them on tour, and then at the merchandise tables, and then they started selling out more than my CDs. So I was like, okay, well.
Which is like a hard thing sometimes to take.
Yeah. I was like, thanks for coming to my show and buying all these friggin' key necklaces. But I knew it was really resonating with people, the words. And so it became my favorite thing, was talking to the people and the girls after the show, like, okay, what word do you need? And they're like, I just went through a breakup. I'm like, you need the let go key. And then like, get the let go key. Those are the best. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need that. And so it was my favorite. It was like little therapy sessions every night after the shows, and just hearing what people were going through. And it was like, this is my favorite part about touring and traveling, is just getting to connect with these humans and what everyone's going through. And so, but then I knew there was a missing link. I knew I wanted the money to go to charity, because I was just going to my record label at that point, It was just kind of like part of the merch sales. And they're like, well, you're doing really well on merch, but you're not selling that many CDs. I'm like, well. So anyway, and then, so I knew I wanted the money to go to charity. And one day I was walking on Hollywood Boulevard, and I saw a young homeless couple, and they lived in a dumpster in a cardboard box.
Okay.
And it was raining, and I was like, can I take you guys to dinner? And so I took them to dinner. And I wasn't thinking about the Giving Keys at all. And
hold on, rewind.
Yeah.
You just saw a young homeless couple on the street.
Yeah.
And you're like, let's go to dinner.
Yeah.
Is that a normal thing you do?
It kind of was at that point in my life, because I grew up in LA, and I was around so much, homelessness, and I grew up going to church and youth group, and actually when I met them, I was leaving church by myself, and they played an Invisible Children documentary. Do you remember those? Invisible Children? It was like about these it's a really gnarly documentary, and about these kids in Africa. And so I left bawling my eyes out. And I remember it was raining. It was like a scene from a movie. And I was like, God, what else can I do to help people? Like, I want to change the world. I don't know, what else can I do? And then right then, I saw this couple in the rain, soaking wet, and they were holding up a sign that said, ugly, broke, and hungry.
Oof.
And it just caught my eye, and it kind of looked like a Love Your Flaws sign. And so I was like, why does your sign say that? What's your story? And that was pretty normal for me to do at that time. I would go up to everybody and like ask their story and stuff. But so I definitely was not thinking about the Giving Keys at all. And so I remember I canceled my plans that night, and I was like, let me just take you guys to dinner. Are you hungry? So we went to dinner and had the best time, and they just told me their life story. And the girl said she liked making jewelry. And I was like, oh, this is my aha moment. You're the missing link to the Giving Keys. You guys want to be my business partners? And they were like, who is this crazy lady?
At no point during this, you're just kind of like rolling with it.
Yeah. And I already
feel like
had a
so
website.
many people will have things that come up that say no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Right? And you just don't have any of those.
Yeah. Not at that time. Like, I think I was so passionate, and I was all, especially because after doing Love Your Flaws for so many years of going up to people like, do you want to make a Love Your Flaws sign, to like hundreds of people I went up to on the street.
Okay.
I just had confidence going up to anybody. But then also with with people that were, you know, struggling with homelessness, like just whether it's like buying them food or just like let's have a conversation, or I would always write songs. Like I wrote a song before I started giving keys called The Same Inside, and it was like about a homeless woman that I met at Starbucks, and how the whole song is about how we're all the same inside. Like we all just want to be loved and feel like seen and known and heard and loved. And how, because I had offered to buy her food at Starbucks, and she's like, no, it's okay, thank you, just thank you for listening to me, after we had had a conversation. And I went home and wrote a song about this woman.
Yeah.
And and so it's always been a passion, even before giving keys. But when I met this particular couple, and I just fell in love with them, and they were raised homeless on the street, and they showed me pictures of their parents that had like no teeth, and they still live under a bridge in San Diego. And the guy, Rob, had never gone to school before, and they were in their early 20s, and like so bright. You could just see that there was so much potential inside of them. They were super creative and cool. Anyway, so I was like, I have this website, The Giving Keys. And at that point, it was just about like get your word and then pass it on. But I knew that there was more. Like I knew I wanted the money to go to something, but I wasn't sure what. And like, I should just pay you guys to engrave the keys instead of the locksmith, the Studio City locksmith named Mike. Like, you know, it's not really doing much for him probably. So then the next day I went to Pep Boys, bought hammers, went to Studio City Lock and Key, bought engraving equipment for like $300. So then I started meeting them in alleyways and started paying them to engrave the words and make the chains. And it looked like we were doing drug deals every time I would pick up the bag of keys, and I would, because I would, roll up in my car and hand them cash, and then they would hand me paper bags full of keys, but it looked like drugs. So all the looks that I got from people every time I'd meet up with them.
This whole time you're doing this, there's no voice in your head saying, what is the voice in your head saying? Your voice is saying, this feels great.
Oh yeah, it was just like, green light, go, joy, peace. Like, there was nothing inside of me that was going off like, this is not wise, be careful. Like, none of that. Like, but my parents used to be worried about me because I used to live on, like, off Hollywood and Franklin.
You got this awesome business idea. Where are you going? Never mind.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
And I would just, like, go around and try to talk to people, and they were like, Caitlin, like, there's always shootings on the street and stabbings and drug, this and that. And I was like, I'm fine. I'm just going to go for my nightly run and just talk to everyone.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I was like not worried at all. And so, and we would meet up like at the Jack in the Box on near Hotel Cafe, like on like Sunset and Highland or something, or Cahuenga. And then there's like an alley. We would always meet there, and we would do our little drug deal / giving key buys. And like I got so much street cred because I learned sometimes they would deliver them to me, like they're like, yeah, this is how drug dealers deliver drugs, and they would literally wrap the keys like the way that they would wrap drugs. And so that made me feel really cool.
Sick.
But if people knew what was inside, it was really funny and ironic. But then the coolest thing is, so I started hustling and got them into 1 million stores. And
like what?
Like at that, Fred Siegel, that was our first store we ever got into, because I was the barista in high school. So I kind of knew the buyer because I made her lattes. So I would go in and wear 100 keys and hope that she would notice. She's like, what are those? Those are fabulous. And I was like, oh, these? Funny you should ask. Well, I'm trying to get this one young homeless couple off the street by selling them. She's like, what's your wholesale price? We'll sell them here. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. Whatever you want to sell them for, it's fine. Sure, take them. Like, and I was like selling them for like $20 or something at that point. She's like, no, you have to sell them for like $50.
Amazing.
I was like, really? Okay. So then, and then we had like our first event there at Fashions Night Out, and I brought the young homeless couple there, and they were engraving the keys like in Fred Siegel, and then they grew to being in like Nordstrom and Starbucks and all that. So they saved up enough money, they got their own apartment, and they started taking GED classes. And then and it helped when I was touring because I'd be in a different state all the time, So I was like in Nashville. I was like, what's the coolest store in Nashville? And I loved that little Franklin area, like old Franklin, like on Main Street. And so there's a store called Philanthropy, and it's like a charitable gift store, which is like my favorite. And so I had a friend that kind of knew the buyer, so I was like, can you introduce me? So I went in and pitched the Giving Keys to her. And so Philanthropy, they've been selling the keys for like 8 years now.
Amazing.
And anyway, so then when that young homeless couple couldn't keep up, we started partnering up with all the different transitional homes and nonprofits around the issue of homelessness. And then they started screening people for us. And so now we've been able to employ over 120 people that are trying to transition out of homelessness so far.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, right? Like,
Just
where do you start?
What is propelling you? Like, I'm so fascinated because I think a lot of people, especially listening to this podcast, have this idea or this sense that they want to do something good for the world. I'm listening to you talk and I can't even get through it.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Are you pregnant also?
Oh, no.
Just kidding. I'm pregnant, everyone. And I cry 900 times a day.
So
and I
good.
love that
It's so good. It makes my heart want to explode. I like love homelessness. I made a music video about it. Like it's like, I know there's just like, I'm with you. But what I'm fascinated trying to get across is why the hell were you able to do this and what stops everybody else?
Ooh, dang, good question. Okay, so I've had my doubt, like struggles with like, what do I believe in spirituality? I was a philosophy major, so I'm like super, and then I had a philosophy night at my house every week.
You did? Mm-hmm. Cool.
And I just, because I grew up super Christian, and I think that was definitely part of like what got me thinking in that way. Because at my youth group, we would go to like 3rd Street Promenade and feed the homeless every weekend, and so I was like I always
kind of breaking down this barrier.
Yeah, it just grew up kind of that way, like helping people and changing the world. My youth group band was Lifehouse. Do you remember them? Like the falling even more in love with you.
That was really
That was literally my youth group band.
Oh, sick.
So that song we would like be like worshiping too.
Nice.
Like so yeah, that. But I'm not gonna lie, I probably did go to youth group because Jason was so cute, like the guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love youth group. But yeah, so I got super into youth group. And so that was definitely like been a big part of, I think, what made that happen. And I think because I was so passionate and because it came from like that spiritual place of like literally leaving, watching that documentary and leaving church and saying like, what else can I do to help people? And it just like came out of this overflow. I think whenever I would go to certain stores and pitch them, they saw that it was like a real passion and like a real cause. And I was like, I'm not taking any money from this. Like, please sell them because it's not going to help me, as opposed to all these other jewelry brands that are going in and they have like sales reps that are like perfectly in their collared shirts and their presentation. And my presentation was like in a plastic baggie, like with dirt on it. Like it was like, so I think like it was refreshing to stores that I wasn't like polished and that I didn't know what I was doing. And I kind of helped, like made them think that it was their idea to help. Like,
yeah, I guess what I'm hearing is like, and what I want everyone else to hear is there's a recklessness to some of this.
Yeah. And I think now, because like give back brands are so popular that I think it's become very saturated, that I think now a lot of businesses, nonprofits or whatever are like, oh, we should, it's trendy to be, charitable. It's trendy to give back. So we should do 10% proceeds goes to Africa or like 10% goes to this. But I think consumers can smell when it's not authentic and real. So I think they're smart. They know if something
is
and have
just
you ever
like
had
any issue internally about thinking that like, so you brought the homeless people into Fred Siegel.
Yeah.
Like, was there ever a worry that you would be, it would seem like you were using them in any way? Is there any internal, or it was just so pure from your place?
Yeah, I honestly didn't even think of that. So at the time I was just like, this is so cool. Like,
I'm just like, I don't know. I would really love to figure out how other people can do acts of service. I think there's like a rhythm to service.
Yeah.
Anytime I've ever done anything for the homeless, the stages of what happened in my brain are very similar. So first thing that happens is I go, I want to do this. You know what? I want to have my birthday party be everybody bring clothes and we'll go down.
Awesome.
And then as soon as I say that, another voice comes and goes like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
You're an idiot. Why would you do that? I don't know where that comes from and how we kill that voice.
Right.
But it does show up and goes like, really, you think you're going to make a big difference just with that?
Oh,
so then trying to like push through that and it comes in stages. So then I finally just go like, all right, I hate you, get away. And then I bring all my friends over, we get all our clothes together and we make a bunch of sandwiches. And then on the drive down, I'm like, nobody's gonna want this. Who wants peanut butter and jelly sandwich? I don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They probably want something else.
Yeah.
There's no way that what I'm gonna offer is gonna be of any value.
Yeah.
Then you show up and you fight through that. At any moment on the way down to go do something that's like nice like this, you still are like, should we just turn around? Should we give up? Is this stupid?
Yeah.
You know? And then you get there and it's always amazing.
Yeah.
And you always feel like, oh, this is the most human thing that could be done. Is to give to other people.
Yeah. And I think like one of my favorite quotes is I think we talked about her before, maybe Mother Teresa, how her one of her quotes is do not wait for leaders, do it alone, person to person. And I love that because it's not about like necessarily like starting this organization or whatever, but it's like person to person. Like I think it starts with caring about a human, like humanity, one person and their story and their lives so much first. And I think when people ask like, how can I start something? I want to start something. I always say like, don't try to start something first if you don't know, if you're not passionate about something yet. So my first step I think would be challenge yourself to feel empathy. Challenge yourself to let your heart break about an injustice that you see in your community or in the world, or maybe something you're going through. Maybe it's not necessarily homelessness or Africa or whatever, or, you know, human trafficking. Maybe it's because my best friend, she started a human trafficking organization called Saving Innocence, and she's been doing that for 10 years, and that's like her biggest passion. And and she went through something in her life, you know, that kind of led her to be passionate about that. And then one of my other best friends right now, like she's been going through infertility for years, so she's starting like a nonprofit, and her goal and dream one day is to have, you know, conferences and help other women that are going through infertility. So I think no matter what it is, like whatever that thing that you're passionate about, that you've gone through, that is personal to you and your community or your life or your family's life or cancer or whatever. There's so many things to be passionate about right now. Like it can be like
shortage of
mental illness. It could be guns. It could be, you know, racial. I mean, there's just, there's no shortage. I mean, it's out of control. So there's plenty of things. So pick, you know, like challenge yourself. What do you feel, what breaks your heart? And challenge yourself to feel empathy about that. And then start small. Start with what you have. I always say, like, start with your birthday. Like, everyone has a birthday. So instead of having everyone bring, you know, presents for you, maybe have everyone bring, like, if it's like you're passionate about clean water, like, let's all donate whatever amount to blah, blah, blah. You know, so you can always start with whatever you have. And you don't need a business degree. You don't need to have, you know.
Who taught you this? You just did it?
Oh, I mean, no, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Like, I was a philosophy major, so I definitely didn't have a business degree.
Yeah.
And it's just been, like, trial and error and, like, guerrilla style everything. And I think, but I think the first thing starts with you have to be passionate about it, and your heart has to be broken for this certain thing. Otherwise, it'll never sustain you to get through all the trials. Like, we've been through so many hard things where people, like, 10 years in, like, so many things have happened.
Like what?
Oh my gosh. You know, Lord, I mean, we've had someone bring a gun to work before. Called the police so many times. Like, I mean, last weekend, someone came to my house to serve me papers and I wasn't there. And like my little boy, and I don't even know what it's for. Like stuff like that. And I'm like, what is this for? And I was contacting someone from my office, and they're like, well, it might be this printer company because this one person that used to work there got this printer. And now they're suing us for $40,000. They're like, what?
Oh my God.
So, I mean, that's just like on a Tuesday. So there's just in all the HR and hiring and firing and people that don't get along in the office or whatever it is. Like, there's so many things that are so draining that keep you up at night that I think, like, the only thing that will keep you going is, like, really caring about the people and going back to caring about the one.
Yep.
Otherwise, it'll not sustain you because
it's
just way too
find
exhausting.
Your why.
Yeah.
So interesting. You know, the idea that in the beginning when you have limited, at least me, having had limited charity work, you go to do something that is perceived as charity. Mm-hmm. And you're like, how are we doing over here? Is it crazy? It's raining, so that's part of the vibe of this podcast.
Yeah.
It's think
we're in a snowstorm.
You think in your head that, like, I'm doing this for a good cause. So I don't know why that equates to, like, maybe it'll be easier.
Yeah.
And it definitely is not.
Yeah, no.
It's just as hard.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe harder sometimes.
Yeah.
And so to show up for something that is not, I don't know, that's kind of unorthodox in its purpose, which is like just to do good in the world.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's harder to do good because like if we were just a normal jewelry company, because it would have been good enough to have positive words on jewelry, right? Especially 10 years ago before it was popular. Like that people were already buying them. Like that was good enough. I could have settled there. But there was that like gut like thing that, you know, people can call it your gut, God, intuition.
His little voice.
I like to call it like my pisometer.
See, this is what I'm fascinated by. Why is yours so loud? What the fuck? Where did you get a megaphone for yours? That someone goes.
It doesn't happen all the
that
time.
yours is like, yeah, okay. You see these people that are holding a sign. There's billions of people holding signs all over
Right?
the world. Why did you go? Yeah, totally. Let me take you to dinner. And then in your head, you're like, I know eventually down the line, someone might bring a gun to work if I hire only homeless people. But like, let's do it. You know.
It just felt, I think what I think how you follow it is following the feeling of peace. And that's why I call it the peaceometer, because I think when there's like that little thing that's like off in your stomach, like, oh, something's off, I think you should listen to that. But I think when it feels like, yeah, maybe it sounds crazy, but I feel peace about it. Like there's like a joy and a peace, like it's like that passes understanding kind of feeling. Like that's when you know. And yeah, that's the best way I could describe it. I have a really good peaceometer story. Do you
Go
want
ahead,
to hear?
please.
Okay. So
Peaceometer.
yeah. So about the megaphone and like how do I hear it? So this was like a megaphone situation for sure.
Okay.
This is probably my favorite story. And whenever I do struggle with like, do I believe in God or not? This kind of helps me. I still don't know exactly what it all means, but this story like blows my mind.
Okay.
And I feel like if it weren't for this story, I don't know if the Giving Keys would still be here. So we had somebody who was making our website, and I had like that pit in my stomach, like, oh, I don't know if I trust this person, but I didn't listen to it because it was too quote unquote easy to keep him, because he controlled our website. Then he started becoming our production manager. Then his garage became our office, and he just was doing so much that I just couldn't let him go, even though I had this like bad feeling deep down. There was nothing he had done, but it was just like something is off, right? I didn't listen. So finally, shit hit the fan, and we found out that he was stealing money. So basically, instead of the PayPal, people would buy, and then it would go to keypayments@gmail.com. He added an S and created a fraud account that was keyspayments@gmail.com. So whenever we would look at statements, no one could tell, like even our finance people, like that, whatever. So he had funneled in like every third order to his private account. Okay, fast forward to, we had lost all this money. My friends were like, your life is like a CSI episode. Like, I was like, he then created like a fraud website of like, that was like giving keys on sale, $15, and he made them all himself. It was like a whole thing. Yeah. So fast forward to, I was thinking it was the end of the Giving Keys. Like we had no money to pay employees, and we had an office and everything. So my ex-boyfriend was coming to town, and he was like the VP of this like big business place in New York. And he came into town, and he didn't know what was going on. Anyway, that morning I went to this church that I'd never gone to. It was like all like gospel church. I was the only white girl there, and my roommate was at the time was Buddhist. And so in the middle of the sermon, the pastor did not know me at all. Again, had never been there, didn't know anyone there. And he stops the sermon. And he goes, I feel like there's someone here. He goes, this has nothing to do with what I'm talking about right now in my sermon today. I'm stopping it. I feel like I'm supposed to say, there's someone here.
What you're about to say is about to be so right for this podcast.
Okay, good.
Go on.
He's like, there's someone here who started a business, and it was successful, but now you're going through a storm, and you think that you need a partner to get you through this storm, but you don't need a partner to get you through the storm. God wants me to tell you that he's going to get you through this storm. Okay, and then he like went back to his thing. And so my Buddhist roommate was elbowing me. She's like, I think he's talking about you. And I was like, I kind of think so too, but I don't know, right?
That's really intense.
So later that day was the day my ex-boyfriend comes into town. And he goes, okay, Caitlin, I have a proposition for you, or proposal. And he goes, I want to offer you $20,000 to be your partner. And he goes, you're kind of Dennis the Menace when it comes to business, so I'll do the business side and you can do the creative side. What do you think? And I'll make you the business plan, and I'll do da 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 da. And I was like, wow, I can't because this random pastor just told me the thing in the morning and the storm and the partner and you don't need to God my partner. I can't. And he was like, Caitlin, like, you're going bankrupt. Like, you have no money. This guy's stealing from you. You really should take this. And I was like, I can't because I just know what he said and it felt right in my pesometer stomach. And like going with you would not feel right. Like even though it's right on paper, like mathematically it makes sense. It was like listen to your gut. Like it was like bells. Something was going off. Like no, I don't feel peace about this. So fast forward to said no, and he kept saying like wrong decision. But I just felt like it was right. So fast forward to a week or two later, we got our biggest. We at the time Kitson was like a big store, and so we got into Kitson, and that helped. Then like a week after that, this guy had called, and he runs these like Christian leadership conferences in Atlanta, and he's like, I'm having a conference with 15,000 people, and we would love you to bring Giving Keys. 1,000? Can you bring 1,000? We're 1,000 Giving Keys, and we're having all the social enterprise jewelry companies bring 1,000 of all their products, and we want everyone to sell them for $20, and our goal is to sell everyone out. I was like, okay, yes, I'll be there. So we made a video, they played it, whatever. Fast forward to I was there selling them. We sold out, and guess what that equaled? $20,000. Like a month later. So thank God now, fast forward 10 years, I'm married to someone else who's not my ex-boyfriend. I have a baby. Thank God I'm not business partners with my ex-boyfriend.
Oh my God,
Thank you, Pesometer.
Totally. Wow. Yeah, it doesn't, that's fantastic. My goodness. It gets into really fun, strange territory of like when to listen to things that are very strange.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You do it a lot? Called intuition or pesometer or whatever the hell you want to call it. You still use it a lot?
Yeah.
You'll do like a check-in?
I feel like it's more like more of a natural thing. Like even like yesterday I was interviewing people at my office for like a super important position. Yeah. And it's just more following your gut of like, okay, this person has a better resume, but like I feel like this. But I'm gonna go with what I'm something about this first girl feels like she's a bebetter fit for the Giving Keys than this person that's maybe better on paper for whatever reason. Like I mean that's kind of a silly little tiny example, but as far as day-to-day life.
Day-to-day stuff. Yeah. And do you like business?
I do, but I think right now I'm a little tired because I'm pregnant, and so I don't like it right now. Like right now, I just want to lay in bed
and you just learned
cry.
It on the way. I just want to lay in bed and cry.
Yeah.
And I hear you. You came here and talking to my wife before that you're just like, it's a crazy time being pregnant. This is your second one.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so good.
So right
is there anything that you will try to teach them about this?
Oh yeah. So I'm working on a kids book.
Oh really?
Well, actually, I'm working on 3 books. I got a book deal this year, so I have to turn one in. So I'm pregnant and I'm due in June, but my book is due in July. So that's stressful.
Okay. That's stressful. Good job. Jesus.
So one of them, so it's a 2-book deal. So one of them is like a Giving Keys gift book, which is stories of the keys being passed around. We'll have to put yours in there of your person that gave you one that had the
oh my
chemo,
God,
like
please, yeah.
like stuff like that, so people can read like the stories, and then quotes and stories of all of our employees that have transitioned out of homelessness and inspirational quotes, blah blah blah. So that'll be one gift book, and then the other one is like memoir, life story, like advice things and vulnerabilities about dark things, like everything.
I love it.
Which is therapeutic to write, and then the other one, which will come later, would be a kid's book. So I grew up loving the book, The Giving Tree. And so I read it. My mom read it to me over and over, and she said I would just cry over and over and over. Been very emotional my whole life. Yeah. Me and Andy over here. Yeah. And so I was like, read it again. Do you know The Giving Tree book? Have you read it?
So good.
Yeah. So I want it to be kind of like that. And so the story is about a little boy named Brave, because that's my little boy's name, who meets a homeless man on the street, and then he gives him a Giving Key and teaches him blah, blah, blah. So anyway, so it's like kind of I want it to be a story where, because, we read our kids' books every day, all day. So it would be nice instead of being like pony, giraffe, gorilla, which is fine because you have to teach them.
That's where we're at.
Things. But it's like also good to teach them about, super important things. That's kind of hard to come by in kids' books.
Kids' books. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's really interesting
Yeah.
of when do you actually even bring that type of stuff up.
Totally.
I don't know.
Yeah.
She's a year and a half.
Yeah.
And it's
She's
kinda
probably
like,
still like spaghetti, strawberry.
Strawberry, tiger, whatever. Yeah.
You're like, homeless person. She's probably
I also I just want to go back to the idea of being comfortable with having this conversation with something weird. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's God?
Wait, what? The weird thing?
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's God. That's God. I mean, in your mind and in my mind.
Yeah.
It's literally like there's this essence or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, I have a purpose for you and I need you to do it down to the $20,000.
Yeah.
What a wonderful way to live.
Yeah.
To believe that. Because a lot of people don't believe that.
Yeah.
Just literally do not believe it.
Yeah.
And it's an insane thing to believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Both are
Yeah.
completely fair.
Yeah. And I do believe like that like when I have doubted God, I do think like, well, I don't think I feel like the giving keys. Oh, this is a good tiny story. I always growing up, I always prayed, God, give me your heart for people. I want to feel what you feel for people. Like, break my heart the way that you're like, let me feel what you feel. That was always a prayer that I prayed since I was little. It was like my go-to prayer. And I really feel like God kind of like answered that prayer in the giving keys. And I feel like that's kind of what the giving keys is. It's like not only, like all the words that are on all these keys, we all need these words, whether you're a famous celebrity, if you're living on the streets, like everyone needs hope, everyone needs love, everyone needs strength, everyone needs courage, everyone, we all struggle with the same things, like back to the song, like the same inside. And I think so that I think is part of that prayer, like your heart for people, and because there's so much pain that everyone, a lot of people go through. And then also with obviously helping people that are like the people that are overlooked on the street that don't have anything and that people pass by every day and don't feel seen and heard and don't have anything. So I think giving the second and third and fourth chances, then other people wouldn't give them chances. So I feel like the giving keys is like a total God-breathed thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's,
I just can't think of a topic in the world where people are that is as intense about the way you live your life that we all can't seem to agree on.
Yeah.
Like some people are like, no. Mm-hmm. They'd hear this story and they'd be like, you are sweet, but you made that up. not that you made it up. It just was a coincidence.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then there are other people that are constantly like listening to the universe to try and like guide them. You know, I've had a couple experiences in my life that were very interesting and strange. I lost my mom about 10 years ago.
Oh wow!
And me and my manager he met me on the street performing, and he's like one of my best friends. And we were having a rough patch of whether we were going to stay together or not. And he like came over one day and was like, yo, I just had this dream that your mom was like basically telling me to stay.
Whoa.
So like, how do I listen to that? Do I not listen to that?
Yeah.
Do we,
like, are you manipulating
does that have
me
any
right
play
now?
here? Are we supposed to completely pretend like that's not a part of my decision?
Wow.
Where you're like, I had this weird priest that I've never met. He told me that like I was going to have this meeting with you.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to go logically? Because this is not logical.
Yeah.
This is like completely insane.
Yeah.
And I just love the idea that to be here, it makes life start to feel like such a weird, like Lord of the Rings quest.
Yeah.
When you are open to hearing. And I know that you lose people. You're like, I don't know. I get really stressed out even talking about it.
Yeah.
But it's the most interesting thing in my life is like, man, do you take this to count or does it not count?
Yeah.
And when you say like, it totally counts, like, have you ever had an instance where you thought you heard it and then it wasn't right?
Oh yeah. Like,
you know what I mean?
Every ex-boyfriend that I thought was my husband.
When you start getting open to hearing like the voice
totally
of the universe, shit gets weird.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. And growing up in church youth group, that weirdness happened all the time. People were like, God told me you're my wife. Or like, this one girl was like, God told me you're my husband, to this guy who was like the head of the music, and he was super cute. Not Jason from Lifehouse, a different one.
God told me.
And she's like,
you can't argue with God told me
that if you gave me pennies at church today, that you're my husband, and you did give me, and then she was like, and he gave me pennies, and I was like,
pennies.
That's not real. Like, I don't know. But
so it's like scary to even for a lot of people, including me, to even open the door to that.
Yeah.
I think that's faith in general, which is really interesting and fascinating. But then I've had too many weird experiences where I'm like a little bit open to the door.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's dangerous because then you will have things get done. You know, you think of like forms of terrorism where it's like, God told me. I don't know what to tell you.
Totally.
It's like, Jesus, I don't think he told you that.
Totally.
Don't do that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Don't kill
people. So I get both sides. I could see where someone who was a little more cynical of this would be like, hey, I think it's better if we don't listen to all those things.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Totally.
But then I don't know if you have this business that it makes me cry even thinking about. Even just talking about it. It's so right. It's so incredible. And I'm so glad that you listened to the little whisper. And so what I'm trying to think is like, is there anything else I can give to any? Because I feel like the whisper is there for everybody. Mm-hmm. Everybody has it in them somehow.
Yeah.
And this desire to do good deeds. What stops us?
Oh, I think I've been thinking about this a lot for me lately because I feel like I haven't had that voice a lot lately. And I think it's because I'm too busy and I'm moving too fast. I'm doing too much. I'm like, quote unquote, working too much. I'm looking at my phone too much, social media, like all the things. There's just so much noise. And I think when I don't slow down and journal or take a walk or like a hike or be in nature or do whatever your spiritual thing is, whatever your religion or practice or spiritual practice is, like whether it's yoga or temple or church or whatever it is, all those things, I think, like to slow down and to really kind of let yourself or discipline yourself to like posture yourself so your ears can
even hear it,
because it's like there's so much noise going on, and like the second I get on social media and Instagram, it's like, oh, I'm not gonna hear anything. Like all I'm gonna hear is like, oh, look at her nice makeup, look at her shoes. Oh, I'm fat. Like
that's what I hear.
Is that what you hear?
No,
too?
Totally. I'm sure. I'm of course. But yeah, if you're not quiet, which is so hard right now.
Yeah,
I'm actually, like, you're making me think about myself. I'm like not in a. I have seasons where I'm good at being quiet.
Yeah,
where I like really keep a practice and I'm into it, and then I'll like fall out, like shape, like being in bad shape.
Yeah. Ooh, I have like, this is like kind of intense, but I just a couple nights ago was having a hard day, and I sat down and I was like, is this the kind of person I want to be? Like, or no. Like, I asked myself, what kind of person do I want to be? Because I was like a mess that day, and I was like crying and just like felt very like weak, and I was like, I'm not strong, and like again, pregnant could be part of that, but like I was not in a good headspace. And I sat there, I was like, what kind of person do I want to be? I was like, do I want to be a person that's just like letting life happen to me and just getting tossed around by the waves and just like getting smashed all over the place? Or do I want to be a person that's like, no, like I can and I will fight this, and then I kind of realized I was like, I need to have a little bit more discipline in my life. And I never really liked that word. I don't know if anyone does, but like, for instance, like I never work out, but like, but for instance, at night and after I put my baby to sleep, like after a long day of work and whatever, and then baby, and then put him down, I'm like, all I want to do is get in bed and watch The Real Housewives,
yes,
or like anything on Bravo and just trash TV. That's all I want to do. And I do that a lot. But it doesn't I'm not gaining any wisdom. I'm not hearing any peace-o-meter God voices. I'm not hearing none of that. I'm just hearing a bunch of trash, you know? And I've gotten into that cycle so many times. And so like one night out of the month or something, sometimes I'll be like, I should journal, I should read a book, or I should watch Super Soul Sundays on Oprah. I love watching Super Soul Sunday. And then I'm like, oh, right. Okay. There it is. Okay. There's I needed that. So I think it's like you just get into that rhythm.
But it feels so counterculture to create the space for yourself. We're not like in a zone where everybody feels like that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
When I don't know how to get better at it, or just maybe surround yourself by people, or really make it a priority to create some space for yourself.
Yeah.
And I feel so weird even the words come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
But on like a Tuesday night, not just watching Netflix and creating some space. Do you meditate?
I like the Calm app. Like there's a meditation app called Calm that I really
I need
like.
to get back into that. I used that for a while, yeah.
Yeah. And so I like if it's like 7 minutes to de-stress. I like that.
Yep.
But I'll do it like when I drive. But so I'm not closing my eyes when I drive, obviously, because that would be bad. But I like to listen to her voice when I drive. And I've done it a couple times in the morning. But Colin, my husband, he actually teaches meditation sometimes.
Oh my goodness, really?
And at that place, the Den Meditation. I don't know if you've been there. And he is like so good at self-care that I think it makes me go the opposite way, because like he'll wake up every morning and he'll do it before bedtime. He'll meditate for like an hour.
An hour?
Yeah, like a long time. And he'll read all the books and he'll journal and he'll work out. And because he's so good at it, I don't know, something about it just makes me want to do the opposite or
that's
something.
funny.
I don't know why.
Oh my goodness.
So that's why I'm like, you can. And he's like, do you want to meditate with me? I'm like, no.
Even just talking about it makes it's so funny how I love it. It's my favorite thing to talk about. I love to get into it with people, and I also understand that it sounds insane.
Yeah.
So I'm also very careful.
Yeah.
About like how much you talk about it, because it's like listening to creating space to listen to yourself or listen to the universe tell you things about yourself sounds like a completely insane idea.
Yeah,
but I do kind of prescribe to this idea that you need to clear yourself out and create some space to figure out like what your calling is. Mm-hmm. Those words are so strange.
Yeah. I love that topic of calling. I always wonder, like I always am fascinated about that word for other people. And I'm going to butcher the quote, but it's one of my favorite quotes. That it's like this guy Frederick Buck or something, and he's like, your calling or vocation should be or is your gifts that meets the world's greatest need, something like that. Like your gifts and talents, that your calling or your vocation should be your gifts that meet the world's greatest needs, or your greatest joy, and your gifts are your greatest joy that meets the world's greatest needs. Isn't that so good?
That's really good.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you might have said it already, but what's the most spiritual experience you've ever had in your life?
Ooh. I mean, honestly, I think it was that church story thing. I can come up with
because it was like
one, though.
So palpable for you.
Yeah.
These are things also when these things happen to you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't play into proving it to anybody else.
Yeah.
It's just like, that one's for me. I can't possibly deny that.
Yeah.
That's like a crazy situation.
Because so many ones that I had when I was younger, I think I've spent so much time analyzing, like, was that just my youth? Or, was that just my, like the zeal that I had, like when I'd go to church and like cry, get crying. Can this podcast episode be called Crying?
Crying with Caitlin.
Oh my God. When I have my own podcast one day, that's what it's going to be called.
Crying with Caitlin. I love it. It's great. I don't think I've actually teared up like this. Maybe there's one other one that got me a little bit, but just this idea. Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Nice.
You brought it.
But yeah, like just feeling like the depth of whether it's like my pain, what I was going through in my life with my parents separating or whatever, and like just being able to go to a church or youth group and like listen to the music and the words and just like crying, and that being such a therapeutic space for me to just like emote and process and be like have a safe place, and then have people come pray over me and feel so loved and supported, and so I didn't feel alone. Like that was always so great. And then I'd get filled up there, and then I would go and pray with other people and pray for other people that were going through things, and like I feel like I had like that constant flow of like getting filled up and then to be able to overflow to other people.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I feel like is missing from my life right now. That I think I got into this phase, and it's a real term that that some of my friends that have started nonprofits that are in like kind of gnarly things, like my friend who started the nonprofit on sex trafficking. It's called, have you heard about it? What is it called? Compassion. Is it compassion fatigue? No.
Yeah.
Or compassion, not fatigue, compassion. I'm forgetting. I have
Well,
to
that makes
Google it.
sense too.
Yeah, but it's like a term that like a lot of people are using now. And I think for years of like hustling and like helping people so much, then it's like I got kind of empty. And then I think now being in a new season of being a mother, it's like my priorities just shifted. Before my priorities was like changing the world and like this generation, you know?
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh my gosh, my one toddler is screaming and I hope he doesn't become a drug addict because I don't know how to discipline him and like I don't know how to make him stop hitting me and biting and like screaming and just doesn't listen to anything. And like every day, all I think about is like how to better parent him.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of where my priority is right now. But I think because my husband and I are so exhausted that we're not really in alignment of like going to a church or a thing or a group. Like we're both just like, no, we need to just go to sleep, you know?
Lay down.
Yeah, like sit or something.
I need to lay down.
Or like talk because we don't ever talk, like, or whatever. It's like, so anything, it's like, yeah. And I think when we both met, we did both go to church and he used to play music at churches and stuff. But now we're just like not in that place. So it's like I don't have that well to draw from. So I'm not overflowing like I used to.
Interesting.
So that's kind of a thing that I want to work on.
Yeah, totally. I think we're all
Yeah.
constantly trying to do that.
Yeah.
The next question is, what is awesome and what is terrible about money?
Oh, great question. What is awesome about money? Well, again, right now perspective is I'm all about like school districts. And so like I just like my goal is to, right now we have a 2-bedroom and we have a second child coming. So right now our 2 kids will share a room, which I know happens all the time.
Yeah.
But like ideally I would like to have like a playroom, you know, or something like just space for them to play. So what I think is awesome about money is that it could provide like, I know like a really nice answer would be like to feed more people that have nothing, you know?
Sure.
So that is a definite thing that's great. But right now I'm just thinking more selfishly that money is awesome because it could get you like a little more space for your family
Sure.
and like get into a good school district that has, you know, great education or something like that. Because right now we're not in the best school district. We're right on the line, but like 1 block over. The houses are so much more expensive 1 block over, but those are the better schools.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's that. And then what's bad? Bad. I think it could be like the love of money, which, you know, like the famous quote, like the love of money is the root of all evil. Which
is that from the Bible?
I think probably. I think so. But I haven't thought about that in a while. But I think like, yeah, when you get like a love for it, it's like maybe insatiable. Like once I get these new shoes, then I need those new shoes. Like,
of course.
Or like the new iPhone. Oh, I need the new iPhone. Oh, the new car. Oh, the next model. I need the new one. Like keeping up with the Joneses. Like the like you're just like buying into the mass media to like consume more and more and more, and you'll never be happy. Yeah. So I think like the goal is to be happy with what you have now. And the money, anything extra can just be like cherry on top, the extra icing, but it shouldn't be the thing that can like buy your happiness. Otherwise, the most famous people in the world would be the happiest people in the world. But a lot of times,
it's not the truth.
It is not. Yeah.
Yeah. You just made me think there's a cool quote that I grew up listening to that says, with fire we test the gold, and with gold we test our servants. I think with fire you're able to like filter out what the actual gold is from what's been in the gold that isn't actually that worthy.
Yeah. Ooh.
So interesting.
That's good.
So with fire we test the gold, and with gold we do the same thing to our servants. It's like an interesting idea.
Yeah, that's cool.
What's the biggest myth that you had about yourself that you were able to overcome?
Ooh.
The big one.
Oh, man. Oof. Biggest myth about myself that I have been able to overcome?
That you're like, oh, I'm clearly this, and now sitting in front of me here, you're like, I'm not that.
Okay, this is super personal, but do you have a lot of women listeners, I feel? I feel like you girls might relate. Well, so I grew up having a lot of like female medical issues, and so I always grew up thinking like I don't feel like a girl, or I don't feel like a woman, and like I'll never be able to feel like I'm a feminine or like a woman, like because of A, B, and C that it happened. And then because of a lot of the medical issues, doctors would always tell me like, yeah, it'll be really hard to get pregnant. We don't know if you can get pregnant. And so when I got pregnant, well, have you heard of that thing called to write love on her arms?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Done
really
something for
cool
them.
thing. Yeah. My friend Jamie Twerkowski started it, and it's a really cool thing. It's like anti-suicide
Yeah.
thing, and so we did like a tour thing from Nashville to LA. We stopped in every state, and he had a thing called Fears versus Dreams, and this was years ago, and I did it with him. And my fear was that I'll never be able to have a children. And so anyway, so I have overcome that because now I was able to have them. And I remember when I got pregnant, it was like, I am a female. Like, oh my gosh, like, I guess I am like, okay, now I can explore what it feels like to be feminine, because I never thought that I was, because I thought I was so broken. And that meant that I wasn't like a woman or womanly. So I'm still like, I'm not going to lie and be like, I have totally overcome that. But it's definitely something I have gotten like, more confidence in, because I'm like, oh wow, I am a woman. I know to the outside eye, people are like, yep, but yep, you are. But to inside, I was like, not. I would look at other women and be like so jealous, like they probably had like normal things happen to them, or like they have, I don't know. Like,
wow,
again, I'm working on all that in the book. That's more. I'm going into like detail about what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But
that's great.
Yeah.
What's the most detailed description of what you think happens when we die?
Oh. Okay. I'm totally guessing here. I don't know.
Go for
but
guess.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Okay, detailed description. Okay. It's dark. My eyes are closed right now. I'll get into it. It's dark, and then it's light, and then you see like white angels and light, and then you feel peace and joy, and then it's like and then you get lost enveloped into arms of love and / God. Oh my gosh, that was the microphone that I touched, but I thought it was your face.
It's like so into what you're doing.
I literally thought
like,
your face was right here.
Yeah.
Because I was like in the zone.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
That sounds great. I hope you're right. That sounds fantastic.
Because one of my grandpas passed, the nurse said that when he was like on his way out, he was like putting his hands up. It was maybe the drugs, but like put his hands up, and he said like, wait, like I see something up there, and it was like he was saying like angel, and he's like not spiritual at all.
Yeah.
And he's like a British, like a hard ass British man, and that he was like pointing to the angels. So that's where I got the angels part from.
Okay. And then finally, what is your specific purpose? Why are you here?
Ooh. These are all my favorite questions that I want to ask everyone that I meet ever. Okay. I think my purpose is to help girls and women not feel alone in their insecurities and struggles.
Oh, wow.
And pain and shortcomings and their imperfections.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Because I'm like, look at all mine too. And they're like, oh my gosh, thank you.
I'm gonna have to edit this, but I wanna. There's like this Khalil Gibran poem that I want to that I've thought of right now that makes me think of you. So let me find it. Do you know Khalil Gibran?
Mm-mm.
Holy shit, he's so cool.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Let me look it up. Okay, Khalil Abdul-Jabran. So he wrote this thing called The Prophet, which is really awesome. It's this book of poetry. But let's see. It's Khalil Gibran on giving, which you have to hear. Okay, hold on. On giving. Let's see how much of this makes it. Do you want this in? Maybe. Let's leave it on.
I feel like you're going to want to use the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar part.
Yeah, Khalil Abdul-Jabran. Let's see. I'm gonna read the whole thing, and then it's long. Let's get weird, and then we'll just keep it what we want to keep. On giving, because this is your whole fucking thing, right?
Nice.
You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. So what are your possessions but things you keep in guard for fear you may need them tomorrow? And tomorrow, what shall tomorrow bring to the overprudent dog bearing bones in the trackless sand as he follows the pilgrims to the holy city? And what is fear of need? And what is fear of need but need itself? Is not dread of thirst when your well is full, the thirst that is unquenchable? There are those. Okay, so this is the part that makes me think of you. There are those who give little of the much which they have, and they give it for recognition, and their hidden desire makes their gifts unwholesome. And there are those who have little and give it all. These are the believers in life and the bounty of life, and their coffer is never empty. There are those who give with joy, and that joy is their reward. And there are those who give with pain, and that pain is their baptism. And there are those who give and know not pain in giving, nor do they seek joy, nor give with mindfulness of virtue. They give as in yonder valley the myrtle breathes its fragrance into space. Through the hands of such as these, God speaks, and from behind their eyes, he smiles upon the earth. That's what I think of you.
Oh, wow.
Like,
I'll take it. I'll frame it.
The last part is what I really like. What you're doing, listening to the little voice and acting so intensely and courageously and with such perseverance. I have never had a company that I was more excited to be around, to be a part of.
Awesome.
I'll give you anything I have to help, whatever you need. Please call me in any moment when you get in trouble. If there's anything I can do.
You.
Everyone who listens to this podcast, go get a fucking key. and I hope that even just
That's the best commercial ever.
Yeah, even just listening to Caitlin, hopefully it has inspired you to go do something, to listen to that little voice inside yourself that is like whispering to go do something good in nature. I love you. Thank you for being part of this.
Love you. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Tell me your story, but don't leave the good parts out.